John, Ohio, you're on the Wilkow Majority. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Fine, how are you?
Good, good. Just driving home from Christmas break. I had a question for you. I wouldn't say I'm a liberal, and I wouldn't say I'm a conservative. I do agree with things on both sides of the spectrum, but I can listen to someone on the right, they can convince me of something. I can listen to someone on the left, and they can just provide just as convincing an argument.
Well, I got to hear what that would be.
Well, we won't get into that.
Oh, come on, just give me an example. We're just talking like two guys here. Come on, just give me an example of something that a liberal's convinced you of.
Well, let me, you know what? You caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that. I don't really have...
All right, let me tell you why I was going to ask you that. It's one thing to convince you of their opinion when they're not providing you fact. For example, liberals will say things like, well, it's up to the Supreme Court to decide these things. What they're not telling you is where they got that in Article 3.
Right.
So I'm not trying to convince you of things. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. When it comes down to the failures of government and the violation of the Constitution, I could provide for you word and text of where I'm getting it from. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm going to show you.
Well, maybe I said it wrong. I don't mean convince me, but a convincing argument.
Okay, there's a huge difference there.
Right. Yeah. I meant to say a convincing argument for their side. Just like on a trial, you have the defense and the prosecution. Either one can, but it's the facts that separate opinion from that. So my question is, and all of that does, to me, it seems to drive a wedge between the country. So my question is, how can we get to a point where we can listen to one side, we can listen to the other side, and then we can have the facts presented, and, we can make the decision ourselves. I don't agree with everything the government does, but I don't think all government is bad either.
But bad government is unconstitutional government. Its intent, for example, I will ask anyone who thinks that the Department of Education is a good thing where you find the Department of Education in the Constitution. You can't find it. It doesn't reside there. Then they'll say, but don't you want school? What? You don't want kids to go to school? I got news for you. Every single state in the union's got its own Department of Education. The idea that kids aren't going to learn how to read if there isn't a federal Department of Education is nonsense. So the intent, hold on, let me finish. The intent, the good-natured intent of having a Department of Education is not what I'm disputing. What I'm disputing is the government is overstepping the Constitution by creating the Department of Education.
Right. Well, what about when back in the 50s, I believe, Virginia just shut down their whole public school systems because they didn't want black and kids to come to school there.
Here's the question. Why is the government running schools in the first place?
Well, I wouldn't say they were running schools, but what would happen in that situation where if there wasn't some type of government intervention to say this is going to happen?
I would just want to know where the federal government gets that authority from. If you're going to say if there's an issue with the state of Virginia and there isn't a constitutional violation, direct constitutional violation, for example, the imposition of slavery, where, based on the 10th Amendment, would the federal government have the power to step into a court fight or a fight over schools in the Commonwealth of Virginia?
I don't think it should have been government, but I just don't think it was morally right. I don't think it was.
But government's not here to be morally right. Thank you very much for the call. It's not to say we don't want moral people in government, or an amoral government, or an amoral society. But how much moral power do you want to give the government? We're right, they're wrong. That's the end of the story. The arguments cannot be broken. Third hour next.